as soon as that breaks out. So that's what is happening as far as Bangladesh is concerned. Now, let's take a look at what the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, had to say after the meeting concluded on the 11th in
an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. I want to personally we both want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, for hosting us, for making this possible. They've been instrumental in this process, and we're very grateful to them for hosting us here today. And hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
So that was Secretary of State Mark Rubio, and that was from, this video came from state.gov. Thank you, Department of State. Now, let's take a look at what is happening after that. This was on the 11th evening in Saudi Arabia. Today we are on the 12th, the next day. And looks like the fences have been mended between United States and United Kingdom, because I think their foreign minister, Murphy, if I remember correctly, has come out strongly in support of this peace deal. And he has urged Russia to make, sit down and sign it off as quickly as possible. In the meantime, it is not clear whether the drone fare, I would call it drone warfare or drone-based warfare, is still going on or not, because first Ukraine launched a massive set of 300 plus drones at Russia, and then some got killed, 2 or 3 people got killed, a little bit of destruction, and Russia hit back with their drones, and I think that was like 140. They landed in some spots in Kiev. So Kiev and Odessa, that's where the bulk of the fighting is, Russia is trying to see if they can get some control there. They have not reached Kiev yet, but they would like to do something like that. At the same time, they appear to be not having full control over Donbas region either. So everywhere there is a bit of here and there, and as well as in Kursk, they're saying that up to 4,000 to 10,000 troops are completely encircled. We don't know that for a fact. We have been trying to get some latest information from there. Right now, it is still a little bit nebulous, but this much is for sure, that Ukraine is facing a fair amount of heat in Kursk. As to how they will come out, see, this is all giving you indications. When they sat down and said, okay, we sign off on this deal, that means Ukraine has accepted the terms that US has put forth to them. I believe the terms were agreed to before this between US and Russia. So it's a matter of time before Russia will also sign on this, and hopefully that will happen very, very soon. I don't know, maybe it will go back to Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or I don't know where that's going to happen. Putin says, I don't want to deal with Zelensky. Okay, so let's just leave it at that. Maybe the foreign ministers will sign. Look, it's once the ruling parties, governments agree, then it's a matter of going and selling it to their masses. I still don't know what is the final shape, where the boundary is going to be drawn. We will be giving you those updates in the due course of time. Next, Greenland. Greenland has thrown up a surprising verdict. 2 parties, both of whom what I would call as center or right of center, they have got respectively 31 and 23%. One is called the Democratic Party equivalent. The other one, yesterday I had given you the names. The names are, in fact, I can try and get the names out. Just give me 1 second, because I talked about this yesterday. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have that thing. So the 2 center of right parties together, they get about 53% of the vote. The ruling party has lost, so they are going to have a new prime minister. But it's not going to be like, they did not do a referendum on whether they should join United States if an offer should come. They did not do the referendum. The election was the normal cycle of democratic elections, and one of the big issues was, should Greenland demand independence from Denmark? And looks like that has actually resonated with the people. The population of Greenland is 53,000, give or take, and 40,000 were the people who are the actual voters. We don't know how many actually voted. It could be 60%, it could be 70%. I haven't seen that. So at least the mood of the nation in Greenland is that they want to be independent on their own. And that's, I think, something that Greenland has decided. We'll congratulate them. If they become a separate country, they may not want to merge with US, but they may say, okay, we are going to do a deal
Listen,
with US.
there's a good
insurance
policy.
Possible. We don't
Let's
know.
ask AI.
Certainly, Trump always likes
A
to
policy which remains limited,
back
but provides income for lifetime.
and I see that
Lifetime celebration with LIC Jeevan Utsav. Your future is
So
set.
we'll have to wait and see how this goes. I have a few questions from you all. So let's take a quick look at what the questions are. I'm going to try my best at answering these things here. First question from Mayank is, we need to negotiate solving our chicken neck problem before any further action. I think you have to wait a little bit, Mayank. I think a few things are going to happen. It's not just one thing. Because see, here is the way modern day politics is. Whether you do one thing and then do one thing 3 months later, another one 3 months later, the pushback is going to be the same. You might as well do all three things at once and take the pushback, because it also confuses and it divides people who are trying to object to it for whatever reasons. So I think the 3 or 4 things that are going to happen practically simultaneously. And I have been told a few things. I'm not going to say anything now because one doesn't count one's chickens before they hatch. So stay tuned. Something is going to happen. That is for sure. Mayank, we did behave like a regional power and work towards control in this region without a war. You saw the kind of response that the king of Nepal got when you went back, right? Thousands lined up the streets. Why do you think that is happening? India has completely marginalized Krishna Prasad Oli, the guy who was supposed to be like an agent of China. And he's allegedly honey trapped by some, excuse me, someone from China. And many lay some other people of Indian origin also being under the wiles and guiles of the same person. I'm not going to take names. You all know who I'm talking about. Think Kathmandu nightclub. Okay, that's all I'll say. Now, Aditya says, Sheikh Hasina returning as PM. Great news title I saw today. CG. We hope for the best. I think in all this, if you notice, including myself, a lot of us were really getting emotional about what was happening in Bangladesh and that they were still, not getting the kind of help that India should be giving them. See, these are all rhetorical. It is coming as an emotional response. But at the end of the day, the government has to take sure, measured steps. And I think they did that. They squeezed a little bit. Even now, I don't think all the movement of food from India is as smooth or as efficient as it used to be. There's a fairly strict sealing of the border in place. Things are coming from India into Bangladesh. Nothing is going out of Bangladesh into India, except maybe some finished goods. So there is a fair amount of caution that is being used. Also, we know that thousands have been moved out of India, illegals, and one can't guess where they are. Or they are supposed to be illegal Bangladeshis as well as illegal Rohingyas. We don't know where they are being housed. We know that they are in that region. It could be even somewhere where the Rakhine state is. India might have taken them there. We don't know. For example, Sheikh Hasina had taken about 20,000 Rohingyas onto an island, uninhabited island south of the country's borders, and they stayed there for a while. So it's possible that something like that is being worked out. You have to be a little bit patient here. The direction that Indian government is taking is in a way that I think bodes well for the country. And you're also seeing what's happening in Balochistan. And every time Pakistan complains that it is the hand of Ra, you know that there is a magic wand in the bag that is doing something. We don't know who that is. I'm not saying that it is the Ra that is having that magic wand. But be that as it may, the BLA has prepared and struggled for a long time. The BRAS, the United Coalition, is now really going after the Pakistan. I'm also hearing that 1,000 soldiers or 1,000 people working in the army have resigned. and that's something else. I mean, that means they're actually afraid of going and getting deputed anywhere. Think about that, viewers. 1,000 people have resigned. Anyway, this is something that is in the social media. Sometimes social media is out with it first, and then we have to wait for a couple of days for confirmation to come. But I think it's not far away. That might also happen. Now, next question. Aditya wants to know, CG Biolabs at Ukraine was one of the prerequisites by Putin to be able to proceed further. It is possible that the United States may have shut it down. By the way, this is not an isolated thing. US has about 300 biolabs spread across the world, except in US. And I had made a video right within a few weeks of COVID, and I had said that all these things must be removed. They shouldn't be there. This is dangerous. This gain of function research is very, very diabolical. And falling into the wrong hands is not good. It's just like nuclear thing. You saw how many millions died. US got a lot of deaths because it really got caught on the wrong foot. And today another news has come out. German intelligence had flagged that the COVID-19 had come from a lab in China. In fact, I think they are very specific. They said Wuhan lab in China. What I'm going to do right after this is I'm going to find that link and I'm going to post it in the reference link. So do read it up. We have a lot of stuff like this where sometimes we are rushed for time, so we just line them up, go live, and then afterwards go in and fill in the links. I'll put that link also. PB wants to know, Mr. Iyer, do you think Russia is really going to sign, or will UK and EU agree to this? I think UK has already agreed. That's what I said, right? Murphy already said it's a good sign, a good deal, and that Russia should sign. That's what I said. That they, maybe you asked the question before I said that, but there is complete unanimity now. Gamers Galore says, what is President Trump's plan to reduce the cost of groceries? Do you expect housing prices to drop in short term? Housing prices have actually started dropping quite a bit. In the Washington, D.C. area, close to 20% fall is seen. And that is mainly because government hired left, right, and center on this DEI and so on and so forth. Department of Education has slashed 8%, 50%. USAID has lost all but 255 employees. There were at one point of time 10,000 people working under USAID. USAID was a catch-all thing where whatever you wanted to do, wherever nefarious activities or trying to take pot shots at other countries within India, within US, all that was happening from USAID. For example, the DOG has found links between USAID money going into Open Source Foundation, and then from there it goes into Tides Foundation. At every time it hops, there's a small fee that people will collect as what do you call as conveyance fees, if you will. And people are making a lot of money, hand over fist. And that stuff is beginning to show. DC is definitely going to fall. My fear is that Manhattan also will fall. The real estate will fall there. And Boston probably. Areas closer to the seat of power, which is Washington, D.C., that's where you're going to see a lot of fall. But I think LA also will start experiencing a fall, mainly not because of this as much as because of the way California is going about underwriting insurance for people. If your home insurance doesn't cover fire, I mean, that's not home insurance at all. And that's a huge problem. And that's what it's believed to have happened in Pacific Palisades area, where the entire neighborhood burnt down. One of the neighborhoods completely burnt down. Very, very sad. So we'll see how that goes. But there's definitely, there is no rise in home prices across the country. That much I can tell you. PV says, Mr. Iyer, will EU give up Greenland easily? It's not EU. What you're talking about Denmark, I think. See, Denmark is giving about $511 million to Greenland, and that means Greenland is, and that works to about 20% of Greenland's GDP. So the Greenland GDP is about $2.5 billion, give or take. Okay, so Greenland, if it decides to go independent, it would still keep the umbilical cord with Denmark for some things, and it would just be more things that it will manage itself. It already has autonomy to run the island. It's the biggest island in the world. It will have the autonomy to run itself. And the defense, foreign affairs, currency, all these things were coming from Denmark, which is about 2,000 miles away. And there may be some adjustment there. Maybe they'll say, okay, defense you do, but foreign affairs we will manage from here. And then there will be like, that is the kind of thing. Small pieces, they will start seceding from Denmark. I have to wait, and you have to wait and see how the government formation is, who is going to be part of that government. The top two end up being the part of the government. There's an absolute majority, there's no problem. Usually things don't work that way. Of course, EU will try and play its tricks. Belgium is fully now completely embedded with City of London plans and thoughts. So we'll see how it goes. Aditya says, Sriji, I fear any peace deal will be temporary, as East versus West is a centuries-old animosity unless both sides make amends. This may get worse if next US government is a democratic one. Well, let's wait and see. Let's give peace a chance. Ukraine was peaceful for a fair amount of time. They became independent in 1990. In fact, if I remember correctly, they were the first ones to break away from USSR. So let's give peace a chance. Gamers Galore says, your thoughts on reports of Bhutan, Nepal, and parts of Myanmar planning to join India. That is definitely a good indication, good sign. What has happened post-COVID is many of these countries have lost the ability to govern, not because they are poor at governance. It is just that the economy, which was completely based on tourism, has taken so much of a beating that they didn't have any other way to supplement that. Unlike India, which has got, it consumes a lot of things it produces, and it has got a much better, stronger economy that way. So it is possible that all these countries may decide to merge. I certainly see Bhutan and Nepal merging with India in a fair amount of, in quick time. And the next thing would be perhaps some parts of Myanmar. That would give India also a buffer. If in case they have to deport Rohingyas, they can put them in this place where they can administer it so that they don't get any persecution, which is why they left in the first place. The Burmese, the Myanmar army wanted no part of the Rohingyas. They wanted to just expel them completely. And this happened even when democratically elected Aung San was in power. So Aung San Suu Kyi, sorry. Krishna, thank you so much. That's a good question. Weekly podcast. I should start putting it out. I have a schedule. It's a fairly regular lineup we have. In fact, I've started this 2 p.m. or around thereabouts almost every day now, because so many things are happening in the United States for the US-based audience, or even Mexico, UK. Even UK is still not too late in the evening there. So I'm trying to do this to keep you abreast of what is happening. Right now, India is sleeping, but I know it's a smaller audience, but it's a more focused audience wanting to know where things are. We do have another thing going on today, that atrocities against minorities of Pakistan. Rao says merging Nepal and Bhutan means India will lose 2 friendly votes at the UN. It's a very astute observation. Look, we have to see how much relevance United Nations has. And see, all these things also being brought about because China is being very aggressive on the other side. Whether it is Nepal or Bhutan, they are very, very aggressive. And everybody has seen what has happened in Sri Lanka, where they were forced to give the Hambantota port area for a 99-year lease. So everybody is very nervous about what China does once they get their feet in. So India is being a very benevolent big brother, trying to bring them under his or her shadow and say, okay, we'll make sure that you don't fall prey to these tricks. So we'll see how it goes. Ramesh says we should have Bangladesh split in 3 parts with 2 merging with us. That's a possibility. One is to try and widen the chicken's neck, and the other one is the Chittagong area, which has got a lot of Hindu population. We'll see. Harsha Rao, merging Nepal and Bhutan means, yeah, we just covered that. Magnet Ranga says, Namaskaram, globally left getting left out and things getting right for right. Your views on when it will totally happen. We predict that the next 5 or 10 elections in Europe will all go this way, non-left. I hate to say right, but it's non-left. It's left wants to define itself as left. They have no business defining others as right or far right or center right or whatever. I just say they are non-left, and you already saw that it happened in Germany. You saw that it happened in France, but some, uh, you know, freak flip of hand. Suddenly, the left is still in power. Macron has done some golmaal there, and you also saw now in Greenland. Again, it's a non-left that has got a majority. So these things are beginning to happen. I think this is now beginning to be more than a trickle. Romania also non-left person won, but they have tried to put a kibosh on that. We'll wait and see how that plays out. Trump hasn't really looked at it in some detail. I think he is focused on trying to get this deal done between Russia and Ukraine. And once that happens, then I think Trump will start looking at cleaning up some of these things. Certainly, if United States decides, something will happen. Harsha Rao says, would you please invite Dr. Ankit Shah for a podcast, please? His geopolitical insights are excellent. Thanks. Actually, I've been inviting him. And he's trying to grow that. And he said, give me some time and I'll come back. So I said, okay, fine. We'll wait for you whenever you want to come back. Also, remember, his is one viewpoint. I've also brought other viewpoints also. And I'm going to continue to get more specialists from Europe, UK, and other parts of the globe, so that you get a complete picture. Now everything, even though we say that it is no more global, business is no more global, but activities are becoming global. Indians are everywhere in the world, and whatever happens in the local politics affects them one way or the other. So it's important to understand and cognize that. Jagdish Bose says Hasina's return is not as easy as it seems because India has not been that much proactive yet, although support is visible, no doubt. Jagdish, we have to wait and see how this plays out. Like I said, I am aware of some things that are happening, but like I said, I don't want to reveal all those things now. We don't know who is watching, right? And some people may be recalibrating their action based on some podcasts, because certainly Indian media is not talking about anything like this. Other than P Gurus, tell me who else is looking at the global politics and the impact of this. This means this, and so on and so forth. And we are also continuing to bring new experts who are coming with a wealth of experience of having seen some of these wars for 20, 30 years. So let's just wait. Things are moving in the right direction. Let me put it that way. You've already answered that. Krishnamurti Hunagun says, congressional hearing, 1 minorities in Pakistan after only 10 minorities left. This is hilarious. Congressional hearing on minorities in Pakistan after only 10 minorities left. Well, Krishnamurti ji, it took time to get everybody together. I think there are 20 congressmen, women who are signatories to this. So at least there will be 20 people weighing in. There'll be other people sending their delegations. So we'll wait and see. There are a lot of things happening. Dan Daniel says CG is going to be a joint Arctic command by US, Canada to protect the Arctic region. It's possible, Dan. Gamers Galore says, why does Pakistan not make money by promoting Hindu tourism in their country? There are plenty of holy sites for Hindus there and can be a profitable venture for them. Jizya as well. Gamers, these people have sown so much venom into the minds of the people that now if you tell them, oh no, these people will come and spend generously, it doesn't play out that way. You should watch Christine Fair's interview with me on P Guru's channel about 2.5 years ago. It came. Her first experience of landing in Pakistan, what she faced. It's an eye-opener. This was about 25, 30 years ago when things weren't this bad, and now it's really, really bad. Really, really bad. Magnet Rangaji says, you just gave an overview of P Guru's podcast daily, all to India time, and you are in US. Do you sleep at all? Yes, I do, Magnet ji. Thanks for the concern. Yes, I do sleep. And it's just a management of time. Thank you, Himabrata Das. P Gurus is soaring in the right direction. Okay, I don't know who Murphy is. Jagdishji, I don't know who Murphy is. He's supposed to be a spokesperson on behalf of United Kingdom. He just came out with the statement. In fact, if you've noticed, I moved the time a couple of times today, mainly because I was trying to go live quickly. Then I realized that more things were coming online. I wanted to make sure that I got the right sound bites and things like that. So look for Murphy. I don't know who he is. I do know that Keir Starmer requested practically on his knees Trump to start providing intelligence to Ukraine again. MSM reduced to add your podcasts are much more. Thank you, Magnet Rangaji. Sri Ramachandraya Namaha. Seriously, Pakistan and Hinduism. I was suggesting in today's hangout with Shekhar Ayerji that India needs to change the face of Mahatma Gandhi and put instead Lakshmi on our notes. You know what is going to happen? I'm playing this thing out. Today it's like 350 rupees to a US dollar, Pakistan rupee. And as it starts sliding more and more, slowly it will go, every day it will start sliding more. Already on the street, it's probably worse than 300, 350, 340, 370 probably. As it slides more, people will stop using that as currency, because what do I gain from a piece of paper that is going to lose value within a few hours, right? That's what is, it leads to hyperinflation. So there will be a time when they'll start using India's currency, India's rupees. What better way than to let them use something where there's a picture of Mahalakshmi there? And for that, India needs to prepare today, because the printing presses will have to, remove, search and replace the picture of Gandhi. I think there is a picture of Gandhi, and then there is also a watermark of Gandhi, if I remember correctly. Whatever, guys, this is an idea that whose time has come. This whole place has always been Sanatani, and you can always point to Indonesia. Indonesia is a Muslim country, and they have Ganesha on their notes. So what's wrong in putting Lakshmi? Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth, after all. Okay, that's all we have. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar. To have some things in the pipeline, stay tuned. There is P Gurus 2, where we put out the short videos, and right now we are still trying to respond to some of the fast moving events in the world. Thank you once again. Namaskar.
China launched a live-fire drill on its side of the Gulf of Tonkin lasting 4 days, just days after Vietnam announced a new baseline Tri province. Following this move, China launched live fire drills from February 24th to the 27th in Beibu Gulf area, closer to the Chinese side. Details of the exercises so far have been few. However, China's August 2023 live fire drills included live artillery and rocket fire, anti-ship, anti-submarine and surface-to-air missile exercises. Professor Lee, let me come to you first. So what was China sending a message to Vietnam? And if so, what was that message?
Of course, whenever there is a live fire exercise, we can see some message there. But, in general, they wanted to flexing the muscle, of course, and the second wanted to show the force. But more importantly is this is the response to Vietnam's response to China's demilitarization, right? So, baseline territorial sea. So it's a warning to Vietnam, of course, and deter the further actions taken by Vietnam. Yes.
Professor Liu, if it's a message to Vietnam, Vietnam hasn't publicly responded. How do you think that message was received, and will it alter their behavior, their actions?
I think both sides has tried to play a low profile to each other, even though Chinese tested the live fire drills. But two of them are communist states, so normally through these communist comrades channels to solve their problems. And most important, of course, both sides need each other. Vietnam, yes, is rising in a big way, but Vietnam actually relied on China a lot because Vietnam is the biggest beneficiary of the Sino-U.S. Trade war, because lots of these production lines shifting from China to Vietnam. So Vietnam has already emerged the biggest production hub in the region. The sad example is Vietnam's exports to the United States. So last year, 120 billion US dollars. And then Vietnam enjoyed a trade surplus with United States of 3 billion US dollars. On the other hand, Vietnam suffered 82 billion, 0.8 billion deficit to China. And China's and Vietnam's trade totaled more than 200 billion US dollars. So you see, obviously, Vietnam imported the Chinese intermediate goods and assembly the final products in Vietnam and export to the United States.
Right. It's a backdoor into the US market.
Yeah, but now it's facing the biggest challenge, Donald Trump. So that is why both sides has tried to play down their dispute because they don't know how Donald Trump is going to deal with Vietnam or how to deal. Obviously, is going to treat China toughly, but Vietnam is very important for both China and the United States.
Okay. Professor Lee, so let's get down to a little bit more detail of the two baselines. We showed the Chinese one, which, as I said, analysts has said that the baseline appeared to be excessive. Can you compare that with the Vietnamese baseline?
Okay, so you also have the Vietnamese baseline showing, right? So I think what we see on China's side, according to UNCLOS, there are some specific requirement on this so-called straight baseline. Although both sides say that they are doing this as on the basics of straight baseline, that means you connect up points and with another points with the straight line, right? The question is the point, where the point started, and we see the China one, they have extended to the coastline like 50 nautical miles. So it's far away from the coastline. So compared to Vietnam, it's just along with the coastline. So basically on UNCLOS, you can have this straight baseline under the circumstances of such you have region of island, and also you have indentation of islands, I mean the Gulf. So that's the way to draw the straight line, rather than you select a point in the middle of the water and then say we will draw a straight line over there. That's one thing. Another thing is that each segment of the straight line there cannot over 24 miles. And for China this time, they have something like extended to almost 60 miles. So that's way more than what UNCLOS allowed.
Okay, so Professor Liu, do you agree with that? It seems that China has not been following UNCLOS laws, whereas Vietnam, with its 14 points, the straight lines from point to point, 14 of them, appears to be doing it.
I think they are focusing different parts of the UN Convention Law of Sea. So that is why, and I also, as I just mentioned previously, they are not going to really fight with each other because it's not in their national interests at this moment, at least. So that is why I think, yes, Chinese show the teeth, but Vietnam has tried to respond in a slower pace. Why? It's relevant to Vietnam's rely heavily on China in terms of trade. And another important thing we need to know is Vietnam just changed the top leader. To Lam just become the Vietnam's top leader last year. So the reason why he had to say something, because he just took over the power, and he has to show Vietnamese people he pay attention to the sovereignty. But more important than that, according to our researchers, they believe To Lam has a very ambitious plan. He wants to make Vietnam what's so-called economic rejuvenation. So that want to make Vietnam a big power. And they continue to follow his predecessor's policy of bamboo diplomacy. He came to the power and immediately went to Beijing and told, China is the #1 ally, the most important country. Then next month went to the United States to sign the semiconductor agreement, to see the Biden, met Biden. So see, that is why he is, I think he's very concerned about a relationship with China, at the same time want to maintain positive relationship with the United States.
So you're saying the reason now as to why Vietnam was responding to China's baseline is because of To Lam needing to make a stand on that.
Because he just came to power.
Right.
Yeah, he could not ignore what happened from the Chinese side.
Okay. Now, earlier on February 19th, China's foreign ministry renewed its criticism of Vietnam's land reclamation efforts on Bark Canada Reef in the Spratly Islands. It had previously complained about this particular reef in 2019. China's Ministry of Natural Resources claims that from 2022 to 2024, the land area of Bark Canada Reef has expanded 10 ships. Professor Lee, so Vietnam has engaged in this sort of activity, I believe, since the since the 2010s. However, do you think that the Bark Canada Reef marks any shift in Vietnam's strategy?
I think it's a continuation, but just enhance the efforts a little bit more here, because we know that Bark Canada Reef is the largest feature Vietnam hold in Spratly Island, and now they have the runway, and they also kind of create some platforms for military. Housing the military equipment over there. So that give kind of open another page for Vietnam to have these options for taking off and landing the aircraft there. So of course get some strategic benefits, and sometimes we call this as a strategic defense. Right. So also this is also learned from the experience from Scarborough Shoal. Experience with Philippines and China, right? So Philippines lost the island at that time, but this is kind of try to build something there, infrastructure structure there, and then kind of deny China's accessibility to the area there. Yeah.
Right, I see. And so, Professor Liu, because before we could say that Vietnam has said that its approach is not to militarize the islands. It obviously agrees that it is building out artificial islands, but it's also a little bit different.
Yeah, I think still relevant to military operation in the future. But at this moment, it's still working on the building the artificial islands. Actually, from Chinese side, they had complained several times. They said it was Vietnam who started to build these artificial islands. That's why we have to do in order to respond to what Vietnam did. So that is why this action-reaction. That's also why China this time conducted this live fire.
But we're not saying that we agree with China's narrative, though, are we?
I said both sides tried to do something continued, but also at the same time they negotiate with each other and try to show the world they are still good friends. But in reality, when it comes to sovereignty, neither side can make any concessions. In particular, as I just mentioned about To Lam, this is also for him to show the Vietnamese nationalism in order to get more support inside Vietnam. This is very important.
For every leader, yes. Professor Lee, so how do you interpret China's unusually public criticism? I mean, it doesn't do it often, of Hanoi, given that it is guilty of reclaiming actually twice as much, never mind who was first, perhaps, but in terms of area, twice as much land as Vietnam in the South China Sea.
I think public criticism is just one thing there, because we see further move there. They have the live fire exercise there. So step by step. So I think China really cares, and they know that they see the intention of Vietnam here, just like what Professor Liu said, that the new leader do have the ambitions to become a bigger country or a powerful, more powerful country here. So they have to, China has to think about something to kind of show their disagreement or protest against the rising of another country there.
Right. And what do you think, Professor Liu, of how it made that show? Because it could have simply just done it, you know, in private. It's the kind of thing, the kind of communication that Beijing itself prefers. The fact that it did it so publicly, as in the live fire drills, and then publicly complaining about Vietnam, how does that reflect on China's own reputation, do you think?
Actually, China is not really afraid of Vietnam. China has all kinds of cards against Vietnam. Already China has imposed these kind of threats to Vietnam in a big way, even though we talk about cooperation.
So what was the point of making it so public? What, you know, bring it into the public realm?
Because of course, for Chinese do not want to see already Philippines is challenging China. Vietnam has already been quiet for a long time. And 2009, it was Vietnam who started talking about China, claim South China Sea is China's core national interest, and then started fighting. At that time, Vietnam was the vanguard against China, but now it's failing. And so that is why China does not want to see both countries again working together against China. Okay, so that is why China, as I said, China has used Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand, at least 3 cards in order to, isolate Vietnam. In particular, high-speed railway.
Which we're going to get onto now.
China already completed its high-speed railway to Laos, and then just recently, Thai Prime Minister went to China, and before that, the cabinet already passed to build the second phase of the Sino-Thai high-speed railway. This is very important because the second phase is going to link to Thai's capital, Bangkok. Then Bangkok can link to Malaysia and Singapore. Then almost done the Pan-Asia railway network.
Right, and so this is
the other side.
Yeah, this is the missing link, which we'll get onto.
Yeah.
A very good introduction, thank you. Vietnam's National Assembly recently approved the construction of a 390-kilometre cross-border railway from its largest northern port city to the border with China through capital city Hanoi. The new rail line will run through key manufacturing hubs home to Samsung, Foxconn, Pegatron, many of which rely on components from China. Beijing will provide funding through loans for the $8 billion project. It is the first part of Vietnam's 2 corridors, 1 belt initiative, connecting to Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. Professor Lee, let me come to you. So